Oh my goodness. Words that hurt and why?
I would remove that full vocabulary.
Damn.
No, it's still not, like, it's not okay.
It just makes me just break down inside and feel just bad on why people are saying it.
I feel disgusted, angry.
Really?
The whole purpose behind the word is struggle. And I feel a lot of people, especially white people, who seem to think they understand just because you can kind of understand somebody's struggle from their past story does not necessarily give you leeway to say whatever you want.
Well, I don't understand where this argument comes from, where it's like, well, why can't I say it? And it's like, there's this one thing that we are limiting you from, like the masses. We are limiting you from this one thing, even though society has made everything for you. And like, it should be one thing that you shouldn't even be wanting to say because you know the history behind the word.
It's better if a white person will not call me the N-word. I do have a name.
We've kindly asked in the past to not use that word. We've also aggressively asked not to use that word. It's a lack of respect that causes issues.
I would like to first emphasize that I am a white person talking to white people using this word and saying to stop using this word. If you would not use that word or say that word when a black person is present, you should not say it at all. Stop using the word. It's one word to exit out of your vocabulary for the sake of someone else. I think you can handle that. Well, that isn't a valid excuse.
Because hip hop culture strongly surrounds African Americans, and because it's having an affiliation with, like, as it's growing in popularity, a lot of white people would hear the songs, it becomes popular. They're at concerts, nobody can really hear them, and then it becomes common, like, yeah, I can say and with this and with that. And then, when you're in a common social circle and you're saying that, you look like you're stupid.
As a white person, you're technically a guest in that culture because it's not yours. So the fact that you feel so emboldened and you feel entitled to use a word that is not meant for you, it's really telling, and it demonstrates, I think, an undercurrent, the undercurrent of white supremacy in our society.
Just because someone's doing it in a song doesn't mean that you all of a sudden have the right to use a word that has been used to oppress a group of people for centuries.
Because at the end of the day, the word still means what it means.
Unfortunately, we do have a few of those people that do allow people to use it.
Not every black person feels the same way about the use of the N-word.
If your friend says it's okay for you to call him that, then that's the only person you call that.
Still, it wouldn't be okay. Even if your friend's black, you're white. But the black friend should also learn as well not to use the N-word also.
Words hold power. Words hold weight to them. And when I hear that word, I feel the weight.
This word was developed from the negative connotation. It was just genuinely turned into a positive connotation to accept our oppression and turn it into a friendly manner between our people. It's not meant for everybody else on the outside circle to say it.
We owe it to our fellow humans to consider the full connotation of that word.
It's still cultural appropriation. You're taking a word developed by the culture of African Americans and trying to make it yours.
When black people made it a thing of their own, they dropped the ER and made it an A, but you're still not a person of color.
White people are appropriating hip-hop culture, trying to make it theirs, and wonder why it's a problem. It was never yours to begin with.
The word cracker is simply a response to the treatment that was inflicted on them. So when it's used today, it's used for a reason. It's used to open your eyes.
The word cracker came from people as a response of being called the N-word, right? So it doesn't have as much of an effect on you. It was never meant to be dehumanizing. It was more so meant to be an insult for a much more harsher word.
The minute you tell somebody slavery is over and they forget about it, it's like telling a Jewish person to forget about the Holocaust.
There's still institutions in place that tries to keep minorities down, that tries to put barriers and set us back.
After slavery, there was Jim Crow, and even today, there's the school-to-prison pipeline and mass incarcerations of black people and people of color.
Don't use that word. It's so unnecessary. And be okay. And to white people who are upset at us saying not to use this word, you gotta understand that it's not your word to use anymore. And you be okay with that, because unlike society has subconsciously raised you to believe, not everything in this world is about you.
It's everything that we come from the food stamps to the poverty levels to the not being able to pay rent to the oppression from before, from slavery, from every form of racism, oppression, prejudice, every form. Imagine combining that all into a non-verbal cue and turning it into a word, and that's literally what the word is.
White people, if you feel you have a right to use the N-word, then it's probably time to check your privilege.
Think about the history we've been in, and even though we aren't in those times, we are still products of those times.
Listen to James Baldwin, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. Just understand that if you understand from the other perspective and see from the other side of the fence, you'll most likely understand where minorities come from and the word and how it impacts us.
If you hear another white person using that word casually and with ignorance, correct them. Tell them why we don't get to use that word, why we don't get to claim that word as our own. Tell them the history of hatred and racism and prejudice that exists within that word. Tell them that so that we can create a world of equality where we validate our fellow humans and validate their concerns.
As a senior in Casanova College, I think it's best if some people would stop saying it, so that way the entire campus would not say it. And then I guess it will carry on to another campus up here. And then maybe one day it could carry on to maybe nationwide.